In this video, I'll show you how to make urban ruin bases. Hi everyone, and welcome to another brushstroke basing guide, where this time I'm going to take you through the steps I took for making this urban ruins display base. But before I do, I'd just like to say a massive thank you to everyone who subscribed to this channel so far. You guys are awesome and I really appreciate the support. If you've not subscribed, then please do hit that subscribe button now, and don't forget to click the notification bell to be told whenever I post a new video. Also, if you enjoy this video and you'd like to see me making more of them, then please hit that like button and maybe drop a comment below of things that you'd like to see more of. Okay then, let's make a start on the base. And the first step is going to be making the broken concrete walls. And for this, I'm actually going to use a product which I found from Jawela. And these are really great. So when you take them straight out of the packet, they look just like little slabs of concrete. Really smooth, quite soft to the touch, I guess. But the really cool thing about these is they already have the metal mesh inside them for the rebar. And if you just take a pair of clippers and start to chip away at the edge of the concrete, you can start to reveal that. Oops. Try not to let them fly everywhere when you cut into them with your clippers, but do make sure that you save all of these smaller pieces because we're going to be using those for rubble and debris later. As well as chipping away at it with your clippers on the edge, you can also get quite a cool effect if you snap it and then continue to bend and flex. You'll find that it flakes away from the rebar inside and gives quite a realistic sort of break to that edge. And then with the mesh exposed, you can cut through that with some stronger wire cutters to separate pieces and make the damage as much as you need. And then it's just a case of continuing to chip away and shape the wall to however you like. Pull the wires apart, be very careful because these cut wires are very sharp. Any spare wires you can pull out, and just don't forget that you're going to keep all that debris because we're going to use that later for rubble. So once you've got your wall sections the size and shape that you want, it's time to add some bullet holes. And for this, you just want to take your hand drill and carefully drill some holes across the surface of the wall. Do be careful when drilling these holes that you don't apply too much downward pressure with the drill, because that could run the risk of cracking the wall section and spoiling the bullet hole. So just take your time and drill a nice clean hole. Okay, so now you've got your bullet holes drilled, it's time to make them look a bit more natural and irregular in shape. And the best way I found to do this is by taking a craft knife and then running the sharp edge along the inside of each of the bullet holes. This then scratches at the surface and crumbles the concrete type material, which gives a more splintered and natural look to the impact point of the bullet hole. Once you've made all the wall sections that you're going to need, it's time to attach them to the base. And for this, I'm going to be doing a display base. And as you can see, I've just used some masking tape just to mark off the area where I want those walls to be. And I'm going to attach those to the base using some gel super glue from Gorilla Glue. So we're looking to get a really strong bond between the base and the wall sections, so you can afford to be quite generous with the amount of glue that you use here, if it'll ever come out the tube. Okay, that's better. Yeah, so you can be quite generous, but don't worry about it being visible at the bottom if it comes out too much, because we'll be covering all that with rubble anyway. And for corner sections where two walls touch each other, I'm going to glue the walls to each other as well as to the base just to give it that extra strength. For the next step, I'm going to add some texture to the base now to give it a more uneven surface. And for this, I'm going to use a product which I've never actually used before. It's modeling compound from Luke's APS. Okay, so I followed the instructions. It was dead easy, just add some water and mix it up. And it's come out like the consistency of like a wet paper pulp. and I'm just going to spread it out onto the base now and make an uneven surface. The really cool thing about this product is it's really quick drying, so you can get lots of things done really quickly. So I'm just going to spread it out, make it uneven. I'm thinking already that I haven't made enough, so I might have to stop the camera later and make some more. But it goes on really well. You can sculpt it. I don't want it to be particularly smooth, but I get the impression that with some wet fingers you can make it really smooth and landscape with it. But yeah, it's good. I like this. Okay, I've definitely not mixed enough up here, so I'm going to just spread out what I've done and then mix up some more and come back in a second. Right, so I've mixed up some more and I've already put that down because the first stuff is actually already starting to dry, which is great. I don't know if you can see, but what I've done is I've sculpted it up so it sort of builds up towards the bottoms of the walls. It gives a bit of depth. And now it's time to start adding our rubble. And for this we go back to the bits of broken concrete wall that we had from before. Starting with the larger pieces first, I'm going to find a place for those, and because the compound is actually still a little bit wet, I can press those in and it will hold those in place. If a piece isn't quite the right size or shape, then just break those up a bit more. Like here, I'm trying to just add a bit more of the metal mesh showing. And then it's a case of just continue to add more and more rubble and build things up. So I'll switch to fast mode and show you how that works. Okay then, that's all the rubble and pieces in place, so what I'm going to do is fix all that together now with some watered down PVA glue. I've added just enough water so that the PVA glue now behaves more like a liquid and soaks in between all the rocks, and I find that using a dropper like this it makes it easier just to direct the glue exactly where I want it. Now just work your way around all of the base, applying an even coverage across all of the rubble. Next, while that PVA glue is still wet, I'm going to sprinkle across the whole of the base with a mixture of fine sand and tile grout. Now this will actually do two things. First of all, it'll add texture of fine sand and grit to the whole base, but also that tile grout will help bond with the PVA glue and hold everything together. Once you've added your sand and grit, then you want to put the base to one side for the PVA glue to dry fully before moving on to the next step. Okay, so the base is now fully dry and everything is set solid. What I've actually done is I've gone back and added in some more rubble because it was looking a bit bare in places. I didn't have enough concrete, so I've actually used bits of old broken plaster rock that I had, and I've added a bit more grout just to finish it off. So the final step of the build now really is just adding any little detail. For example, these ammo cases. Now these are really easy to make. They are just cut up 1mm styrene rod, and you cut them to the length of about 2mm. To fix the shells in place, simply put a small dot of PVA glue where you want them to be and then drop the shell on top. With those final details in place, it's now time to prime the base, and for this I used Vallejo's surface primer in black through an airbrush, and then when that was dry I did a zenithal prime with Vallejo's surface primer in grey. Okay, so for the painting I'm going to try and keep everything really simple. I'm going to use the zenithal priming to do most of the work on the rubble, but to start off with I'm going to base coat all of the steel details with some iron hand steel. Next, I'm going to base coat all of the shell casings, and for this I'm going to use GW's Hashut Copper. For the next stage, I'm going to give the steel rebar more of a rusted look, and for this I'm going to apply a layer of GW's Troll Slayer Orange. The advantage of painting all the steel work with the silver beforehand is that you can add as much or as little of this rusting effect as you like. For me, I'm going to make it really aged, so I'm going to paint pretty much all of the steel with the orange. At this stage, you might be worried that this just looks really orange and doesn't look like rust at all. So now we're going to go over all of that orange with a shade of Agrax Earthshade just to tone it down. For the next stage, I'm going to apply a wash over all of the concrete and the rubble. And for this, I'm going to use a very thinned down Null oil. The reason being I want to really use the zenithal priming that I've done already. So this is really just to add a tint and a bit more depth. And the ratio of thinning I've used is 2 parts medium to 1 part Null oil. When applying the wash to the wall sections, I applied it always in a downward motion. This allowed me to build up the shade where I wanted it to, but also give streaks as if it had water weathering. As a final finishing touch to the rusted rebar, I wanted to just give a little bit of effect where it was bleeding out into the concrete. And for this I've used some thinned down rust pigment from AK Interactive. I've thinned it with some white spirit and I'm just applying it very gently just to puddle into the areas where the rebar meets the concrete. And then using a second wet brush, I've just blended and dispersed the rust to soften the overall effect. And with the addition of a few tufts placed randomly around the base is now done. As always, I'm going to put a list of all the materials I've used in this video in the description below, so please check that out. I really hope you've enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you have, then please do give it a like, and then don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you get notified of more videos. But in the meantime, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.